Izzy and Mikey A, we have a problem.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
We have a young Taylor who is trying to impress, who I am telling you, this is like one of the greatest days of his life because the Knicks finally hired a head coach. He doesn't care who the coach is. He just cares that the Knicks finally have a head coach in place, and he is scheduled Israel Gutierrez today, whom we love, of course, but he is also scheduled after Izzy. Like, me and Izzy alone are capable of handling the Knicks head coaching hire. I'm a Knicks fan, and yet we have two guys coming on in the span of 45 minutes to break down the Knicks hire. We have a problem, Izzy.
Who do we have? Who is this Knicks genius that we have coming on?
We have Ian Begley and Frank Isola. How about that? Isola
I can't really argue with that. Wow, I love that game. I can't really argue with Isola. And Ian, actually, both of those guys have been around covering Knicks since I was, just out of the journalism womb. So those guys, you know what? Not mad at that. Congratulations.
You know how the Knicks have changed since then? You know how the Knicks have changed since then, Izzy?
Not at all.
They haven't. They haven't at all.
I was about to say I haven't talked to Ian Begley since, and then I was like, wait a second, the Knicks have been the same exact damn team for 25 years. So yeah,
they're the same exact team as last year, just with a different coach. I mean,
right. So what do you think?
The same
Taylor?
Coach. I mean,
what do you want to hear from these guys, Taylor? Because I'm not sure you're going to necessarily get what you want to hear.
Well, hold on. Perhaps we should get Taylor's thoughts on the Knicks hire of Mike Brown. They fired Tom Thibodeau. He brought them to a place they hadn't been to in 25 years, back-to-back 50-win seasons, very good head coach. The plan, I think, was to get Jason Kidd. A funny thing happened along the way. Cooper Flagg happened. Jason Kidd no longer wanted the job. He wanted to stay in Dallas, and the Knicks called 3 or 4 more teams afterwards who all said, no, you can't speak to our coach. And then they settled. I don't care what anyone tells me. They settled on Mike Brown. So, Taylor, your thoughts?
Was Mike Brown our first choice? No, probably not. Was he more like our 10th choice? He was probably our 10th choice. But we have a coach, right? And let's just put it into some perspective. He took the Kings to the playoffs for the first time in like 20-something years. That's not the easiest thing to do with the Kings. And when he was with the Kings, they had the number 1 offense. They pushed the Warriors to a Game 7. Mm-hmm. Izzy,
all right.
Please, you just throw it to Izzy. I'm sorry I started it. Let's get an unbiased opinion from Israel Gutierrez, who follows and has covered the NBA his entire life. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Mike Brown has proven to be great in Northern California, where he filled in for Steve Kerr at times when Steve Kerr was not right, and also for the Sacramento Kings. And what I would love to see him do in New York is take some of that knowledge that he did gain from Steve Kerr, who took some of that from Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson, which is the best, probably teachers you can get, and then implement that with a pair of offensive talents like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Can he do that? I don't know if we've seen that necessarily yet. Like, obviously, with Sabonis out in Sacramento, that's the type of big man where you can say, hey, he knows the game. You can plant him in sort of that mid post and let the offense work around him, and he doesn't need to score. Karl Anthony Towns isn't that type of guy, right? Karl Anthony Towns needs the ball to score. So can Mike Brown create that offense that will highlight Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns? He probably has the capability of doing that. Karl Anthony Towns might have to look at himself more as a playmaker now, which I don't think he would be opposed to. But I think this is how the Knicks went about this, Taylor. They had their list of really guys that they wanted to get. Jason Kidd.
Izzy, do you believe Jason Kidd was at the top of that list?
100% top of that list, because it's New York. Like, the only way you're going to really, truly have fans calm down over losing Tom Thibodeau after what he did is either get a huge name or get, the best obvious available coach. So they weren't going to get like Ime Udoka away from Houston. So Jason Kidd, big name, been to the finals recently. He would be on top of that list. But over on the right of the whiteboard is the very short list of guys that you can say, okay, even if it's on our 10th choice, we can argue for this guy. And that's who Mike Brown is, because think about how he left Sacramento. That was a whole, wait, does De'Aaron Fox not like this guy? Is that why they really fired Mike Brown, who just took them to the playoffs? And it seemed like you could say, yeah, that's why, even though he did great things with that offense, even though he took them to the playoffs, even though they beat Steph Curry, I think in a play-in, right? So it definitely is a reasonable head coach, but this was obviously going to be, the 10th option. Just happens to be a pretty good one.
I have a question, and I want to start with Izzy, but I want to ask Stu, and I want to ask you, Taylor, too. And it's a really simple question. Is Mike Brown a better coach than Tom Thibodeau?
No.
Oh, man. He's a different
Izzy, listen, Izzy is
better. Are the Knicks better? Are the Knicks better today than they were when they lost the Eastern Conference Finals?
I'll leave that to Izzy.
I think they can be. Is that an okay answer? They can be if they take the teachings of Tom Thibodeau and still
everything they learned from the guy who took them to the Eastern Conference Finals. Was a bounce away from playing in the NBA Finals. But yes, go ahead.
Everything you learned about defense and owning it and just being that team. If you can do that whilst learning a new offense and becoming this other team that might be exhausting itself on offense too, because there's a lot more running in Mike Brown's offense than it would be in like isolation-based offense. So. Yeah, I think they can be, but that matters. Like they definitely need, I don't know if it's Rick Brunson or whomever, some carryover from the last regime to make sure that they still are a defensive team. Not that Mike Brown can't coach defense, but obviously they had, the makings or the foundation of good defense with that team. I don't know if they had the right players.
Taylor,
put it on the poll, Taylor. Should Mike Brown's new nickname be 10th choice? Like just
top 10,
10th option. Right?
It's not a bad way to attack that. Like my fallback is somebody who's reputable and respected.
They didn't fire him for me. Right.
At the very worst, if your fallback is a 2-time coach of the year, guy who wins, 60% of his games.
Coach LeBron. I mean,
it's not the worst lateral move if it's a lateral move.
It's a lateral move. There's no question.
Is it lateral?
You're saying he might be worse? Right. He did. He did benefit from coaching LeBron. Like when you look at the coaching records, they're basically the same. Win percentage, all that stuff. They're pretty close. I think Mike Brown is slightly ahead of Tom Thibodeau, but he did have the luxury of coaching LeBron James early in his career.
Prime LeBron James, not 40-year-old LeBron James out in LA making $52 whatever million.
Yeah, I think the idea of him, I think him being around the Warriors and Steph Curry and coaching them for a period of time, I think allows him to understand what the ideal situation is. Like he could go up to Jalen Brunson and be like, look, I'm not telling you to be like Steph Curry. I'm just telling you that you have the makings of somebody who can lead like him. Here's how he did it. Let's see if we can replicate something close to that. And I think Brunson is probably that type of leader to do that. And you've got his dad there to sort of check him if he ever goes left. And so, yeah, I think it could work out. It could work out great. They could have stumbled into a fantastic situation here. And for Mike Brown's sake, I hope he does. I hope they did.
Izzy, they fired Tom Thibodeau to get Jason Kidd. Is that fair? That was the plan all along. Do you believe that was the plan, right?
I think they fired Tom Thibodeau with the beginnings of a plan. I don't think they went into the Eastern Conference Finals saying, hey, whenever this run ends, we're getting rid of Tom. Yes. Like, I think they were like, okay, now we see that Rick Carlisle might be a better coach. Now we see the shortcomings of our team. Let's make a rash decision immediately. Never mind that they were going to potentially could change, little tweaks on the roster. Let's just change the head coach because they did it so hastily. They did it immediately. And yeah, that was probably so they can make a run at as many of these coaches as they can. But do I think that they had like a singular plan? Like, hey, this is what we're doing. And we've known this for a while. No, they just came up with it in the last minute.
How do you think Knicks fans are going to react to this? Taylor loves it.
He's my coach. He's my coach. I'm ready to stand on the table for him.
Exactly.
I'm not nearly as excited.
Because when I went on Oddball and right after that move and said, oh, Knicks fans are really excited about, at the time, it seemed like they might hire Johnny Bryant because he was applying for or being interviewed for the Suns job. And maybe that's why they got rid of Tom Thibodeau so quickly, so they can grab one of those guys who was applying or might get the Suns job. And when
I'd be more okay with that, by the way, I would be. I'd be more okay with that.
Because why? Because you never heard of Johnny Bryant?
No, if you're going to fire a head coach, don't go into it with the beginnings of a plan. Have an actual actual plan if you're going to fire a guy who got you to the Eastern Conference Finals first time in 25 years.
But my point on the Knicks fans was they all came back to me. Oh, yes, of course we would. We know Johnny Bryant. You don't know Johnny Bryant. He's better than Tom. I was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about yet. You just want it to be true. So all Knicks fans today are Super Bowl licks over here, Taylor Vipolis. And he's going to be happy until they fire him. But hopefully they don't fire Coach Brown.
All right. Well, yes, hopefully, unless Jason Kidd becomes available next year. Taylor, you have some free agency questions here for Izzy to get his reaction. DeAndre Ayton was signed, huh?
Wow. Wait, that can't be the first one. Please don't let that be the first question.
Not only do I have free agency questions, I've got Izzy or isn't he?
Ian Begley is going to join us, by the way, in just a minute. Are we going to play E in or E out with him?
Okay. I think that's the plan.
Okay.
What else are we going to do? Talk Knicks?
Thank you.
Izzy,
go ahead.
Miles Turner makes the Bucks the team to beat in the East.
Do you ever know when somebody's going to lose even before they even start playing the game? It's when the Milwaukee Bucks decided, hey, we're going to gamble on this. And what we're going to do is we're going to convince Giannis Antetokounmpo that we're going to go 3 years with $20 million of dead salary cap space. And that's how we're going to build a championship roster around you. We're going to get rid of the guy who maybe could come back in the playoffs and be the crazy boost that we need. And that replacement, the guy that we're going to take all these chances for, is Miles Turner. You already had Brook Lopez, who was a big mountain of a man, could shoot threes and block shots. Is Miles Turner an upgrade from him? Yes. Is Miles Turner going to be the reason why you win a championship and forget about Damian Lillard when Miles Turner just showed you how shitty he became in the final? Look, I like Miles Turner. Don't get me wrong. This is me saying on the front end,
hey, I love him. We got it. He's shitty. But he played
horribly in those finals. And now you're going to be like, Giannis, this is our guy. Come on. You already knew he was. And then the challenge is going to be the next couple of years, $22-some million in dead money you have to build around. It's just awful. It's terrible. So isn't he?
Losing, thank you for playing the game. Taylor didn't present it that way. Losing
before
before you even take the field. You're talking to two Jet fans here. You realize that, right?
Right. This is when the
Sunday for me and Mikey A.
When the Miami Heat signed Josh McRoberts, and it was going to be like, this is going to be the guy that tempts LeBron to stay. I was like, nope, we're losing. Go get Luol Deng. And this is a version of Luol Deng.
The next question, which was going to be the first question, but I pivoted when Izzy didn't want to talk DeAndre Ayton first. DeAndre Ayton is what LeBron was asking for when he said to Rich Paul, tell them to make the team better. Is he or isn't he?
I mean, they made it better compared to not having a center on the team. I do think it's helpful that DeAndre Ayton is now in a place where it doesn't snow, so he can't miss a game because his street got iced over. Look, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is ever going to be the number one pick worthy type of guy. He's never going to be a great defensive player. Could he be a version of what Dwight Howard was for the 2000 Lakers? Maybe. Probably more of an offensive version of that. But he's just DeAndre Ayton, man. The only reason he is still in everybody's just brain is because he was a number one overall pick. His performance has been crap.
The biggest winner this offseason so far.
Isn't he? I didn't get it right.
Isn't he? Thank you. I was waiting for it. Thanks, Taylor. You got to lay out, man. He'll remember. Come on.
The biggest winner this offseason has been the Denver Nuggets, adding Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, Jonas Valanciunas, and exchanging Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson.
I think the biggest winners this offseason are the Houston Rockets because they've elevated themselves from nice team to championship contender. But I think Denver is probably right there. Just that switch, MPJ for Cam Johnson, I think is huge. You're never going to have to worry about the things you have to worry about with Cam Johnson that you did with MPJ. The effort's going to be there. The focus on the game's going to be there. And it was really interesting. The Kroenke said something to the effect last season that they're never going to trade MPJ basically because he's from Missouri. And it just sounded like the most ridiculous thing ever. And they actually traded him for somebody who's an upgrade. That's a pretty good get.
Izzy, I took a flyer. Speaking of teams that improved in the offseason, I put $100 on the Hawks to make it to the NBA Finals plus 3,200. How about that? Am I crazy?
Not crazy. I thought that number would be a little bit bigger than 3,200, but that's a good number. That's a good team. If you're going to say, hey, some team's going to surprise and be like this year's Indiana Pacers, 100% it's the Atlanta Hawks. Like Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis, I don't know, maybe this is the year Porzingis plays all 82. I don't know. But that might be the type of center that they need. And I just think the pieces around him are great right now. And by the end of the season, this could even be a team that buys into trade deadline time. And you're looking at a Hawks team that is scary as hell. So, yeah, I think that's a great – you know what? Is it still 3,200? Because I might get in on that.
It's still 3,200, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Keep talking then. So, Izzy. I'm going to go with Izzy.
I didn't present it correctly. I'm sorry. I should have said Izzy or Izzyn't. Am I crazy?
Gutierrez.
Yes. What is what is Begley coming on here?
Couple minutes.
Can I ask you a question, guys?
Please.
Did you guys see that Red Panda? You guys know who Red Panda is, right?
Nope.
Of course.
Wow, Red Panda is.
He absolutely knows who Red Panda is. He just doesn't know who you're talking about at the moment.
He is one of the most iconic, if
performer.
not the most iconic halftime performer in NBA history. She's on an 8-foot unicycle and flips bowls from her feet to her head. Come on, Stu, you know this woman.
I know Kung Fu Panda, Pablo Sandoval. I mean,
no, so close. But Red Panda, look it up while we're talking about this. So she does exactly as I said.
Yay! What's the matter?
Look, top 10 disappointed moments in Stugotz history.
Yeah,
right
honestly,
is not knowing who Red Panda is.
This actually hurt my heart a little bit that you didn't.
Yeah.
Then again, it might just.
I know who Red Panda is.
There it is.
There it is.
When you look at her, you don't think Red Panda, but if you knew that was her nickname, immediately you know who that is. So Red Panda, she throws plates onto her head, and she's in her 50s, okay, doing that. I think she was born in, the internet says she was either born in 70 or 71, okay? And she's been doing this for as long as I've been covering the league, and I started covering the league in the year 2000. In the year 2000.
Bona fides.
Apparently, the other day at a Commissioner's Cup final, at the WNBA game, she fell off the unicycle and she broke her wrist. I have not looked up the footage because I do not want to see the footage of her falling, but she broke her wrist. And I will say there was one time where I watched Red Panda and she didn't get all the plates on her head. One time she failed and it's let me try this again. And she went back, boom, and she did it. And I was like, wow, amazing. Do you think that after, I don't know how many years of this, she has to take a tumble to make it seem like it's really that difficult? Because if she nails it, and dangerous. If she nails it every single time, people are like, all right, enough. We know there's no chance she's going to fall. So missing a plate every once in a while, I think that act has ended. I feel like she needed to take a fall. And if it happens to be a wrist or something like that, she's good, because really, does she need the wrist when she's just doing all this? No, right?
No. Taylor, put it on the poll. Did Red Panda take an intentional spill?
Honestly. And look, you're not going to do that at an NBA game, right? You're going to do that at a WNBA game, maybe a little less attention. Caitlin Clark, I don't think she played, right?
Nope.
Right. Oh, you say right. So you say you're not going to do a big show, right? No.
Correct. You do it like a soft, I'm doing air quotes, fall. And then you're just like, oh, okay. I mean, it's probably worse than she would have wanted. Maybe she would have wanted a sprained wrist instead of a broken wrist. But I think, given how, obviously she's okay with the danger, I think she's okay with it. I think she took a fall just to get back in the mix, to really be like, wow. And then you look at the bona fides on her. She's in her 50s on a goddamn unicycle, flipping plates on her head. You don't want to normalize that. You want to remind yourself just how difficult it is. And last thing here, I don't know if you guys remember, do you know who the quick change artist was? Do you remember there was a guy and a girl and they were dancing, and then something would cover the woman, and then boom, as soon as it comes back off her, she's wearing new clothes. Do you guys know quick change?
No, this was a halftime person?
Yeah, this was a halftime person, a halftime act, two people. He died.
Oh no.
He died, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Red Panda is like the lone surviving halftime act. I want to say of my childhood, but my journalism childhood. And this woman cannot be falling off her unicycle. So I've sort of decided that this is the case. She's definitely doing this on purpose. We need Red Panda to be, taking huge risks. She's just doing this to get back into the mainstream. And you're welcome, Red Panda. It's working perfectly. I'm telling you,
we're going to pay attention now more. We're going to pay attention. Next time she comes back out, all of a sudden you're not taking it for granted. This is Michael Jordan going to play baseball. This is now when he comes back.
She's going to be performing at LeBron's last home game in LA. Yes. You're crazy. She will be the LeBron of halftime acts. Like, look at me. Look at this, what I've come back from at this age.
Yeah, the intentional broken wrist to show just how valuable you are, just how dangerous your job is, and just how difficult your job is.
Again, I think
this is what life is like without
wrist. But a broken wrist is easy to recover from when you're not actually using it in your act.
Izzy, if she's the Michael Jordan of halftime acts, where is the Simon Says guy? Or who is the Simon Says guy?
Simon Says guy is moving up. He's like, maybe Steph Curry.
Okay.
Like he's that guy where it's just like, wow. I don't think I want to put him in that top 5, but in terms of memorable and like challenging, he might be there.
How about the guys who jump off the trampolines and dunk? Those guys, no?
There's so many.
Standard.
Like, that's a trampoline.
Let's do it this way. Halftime show for your life, Izzy. Choose one. I mean.
It's Red Panda. I mean, quick change if he was still alive. So halftime show for his life. Then, they'd be right there, neck and neck, debating. But right now, it's easily Red Panda for my life.
What about the guy with the little dog?
Get out of here with that, man. I just don't know what it took to get that dog to that level of obedience, but I just don't like it. I don't like it. And get out of here with the contortionist, the guy who fits himself through a toilet seat. Nope. Don't need to see that. Give me plate spinners or plate flippers all day.
We take intentional falls. All right, Ian Begley is going to, because we haven't talked enough about the Knicks hire and Taylor, and we don't have Frank Isola coming up after Ian Begley. So
oh, no.
Izzy, stay right where you are, okay? E in or E out? Next.
Mike Brown has to get to the NBA Finals. That's it. Easy task. Right. No big deal. And if you don't, it's a failure for everybody. That's how.
Ian, how are they? How, if you're a fan, not a journalist, if you're a fan of the New York Knicks, how are you convincing yourself, A, this is an upgrade, B, that Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns can thrive defensively under Mike Brown, and that C, we will rise above the rest of the Eastern Conference? And please don't stop doing what you're doing as you answer this.
He's applying makeup is what he's doing. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, if I was
You're
a
on
fan,
with a bunch of animals, man. Don't worry about it.
If I was a fan, I see Taylor looking pretty down there.
Thank you.
Get intimidated. I mean, I wouldn't be convinced. Nothing could convince me other than wins. And look, even Thibodeau, to me, his biggest critic, would have to acknowledge what he did and where he brought the team. And the only thing that would convince me it was an upgrade is if you're in the finals in June. Maybe that's oversimplifying it, but I do think that's the bar that this has to be judged by. And it's not really Mike Brown. To me, it's like Leon Rose, because he made the decision, Jim Dolan involved, and so it was a collective decision. If you're right, you get to the finals. If you're wrong, you don't. So,
Ian, what's the one upgrade that?
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Well, he's getting attacked. Hold on.
Did we start? We did start, right? Okay.
Yeah, we did start.
Unless you're doing two shows at once right now. Yes, we definitely.
No.
I thought you were getting NBA news. Like
my bad.
Brown was my hope.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to make sure because whatever. All good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, dude. All right. What is in your mind then? Like, what was the one thing that's missing that you're like, okay, this coach will get us there? Because obviously by firing Tom, it wasn't necessarily a personnel thing. It was a coaching thing.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was maybe, results-based to a degree, but also collaboration between the head coach and the front office with Tom Thibodeau. Playing, developing younger players, which I mean, I would argue that he did a pretty good job developing some of the younger Knicks. And so those are the margins kind of where Thibodeau wasn't kind of operating to satisfaction from a Knick perspective. So, maybe your starters are fresher if you're playing them fewer minutes under Mike Brown. If you open up the rotation to a 9-man rotation throughout the year, maybe guys are a little fresher later in the playoffs. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on, certainly for me. But I really can't point to, is he going to turn a team that was not a good defensive team into a markedly better defensive team? I don't think so. I think it's just kind of patching things up there. The offense is maybe another story because he showed a lot of creativity, I think, in Sacramento. And then if the Knicks are able to do what Mike Brown would like and get James Borrego as his top assistant out of New Orleans, the offense, I think, could reach a new level, even though that wasn't really an issue for the Knicks. Still, I think they could be more efficient, be more powerful if Borrego and Brown are here, given their offensive track record, because you do have the weapons.
Ian, so the Knicks fire Tom Thibodeau. They have a plan. They talk about it. They discuss it. They get rid of a head coach who got them to a place they hadn't been to in 25 years. What do you think the original plan was? Because there's no way this was it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when my read on it is, I don't think there was a decision that was made at any point, before these quote unquote exit meetings. They weren't traditional exit meetings, but Tom Thibodeau talked to owner James Dolan, team president Leon Rose, and also players came in and talked, and assistant coaches, I believe, came in and talked. I don't think a decision was made before that setting. So I think on one hand, you should be prepared for that possibility if you're running a pro sports team. But on the other hand, I don't think they were sitting there in April saying, all right, we have to go out and get Terry Stotts. That's our guy. I don't think there was a guy who they said, this is kind of our the guy that's going to be there at the end for us, and maybe we figure something else out over the course of the search. That wasn't the case. It was more so, who's available, who can we talk to, who's not available, and that's why you saw them reach out to those teams. I think Mike Brown was not the number one option here. I don't think anybody watching this thing could tell you that, but I think with Jason Kidd, there was a hope. There was a hope that he could get out of Dallas and come to New York. I think also there was a little bit of a hope with Ime Udoka, Chris Finch as well. And then, you pivot to the coaches who are unemployed but have experience, and then you end up where you end up with Mike Brown.
How much was it a situation where it felt like Tom Thibodeau was just banging his head against the wall over and over again with that same starting five, even though the numbers weren't really there? And then how much of a position is Mike Brown in to improve that? Not necessarily just playing more people, but even changing the roster a little bit as we go forward to a little bit more to his liking.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about on one hand is the starting five and the idea that if you go back to, I think it was January 1st to the end of the regular season, they were, I think, being outscored the net rating. And then in the playoffs, they got demolished. I think they were being outscored by 50 points in the postseason before Tom Thibodeau made the change they did middle of the Pacers series. So maybe it's as simple as being open to making a change earlier and being open to trying different things earlier on and seeing if there's a different solution there. And could also make an argument like he went to Landry Shamet and he went to DeLon Wright in the postseason. I could see somebody saying, well, why not play those guys earlier in the regular season to see who they fit with, to get them a little bit more comfortable. So I could see that on one hand. On the other hand, look, he won 51 games. He won back-to-back seasons of 50-plus games. He won a postseason series 3 years in a row. Before he came here, the Knicks had won a total of one postseason series in the previous 20 years. So you can certainly quibble and talk about decisions that were made and weren't made. But to me, the bottom line here is like Mike Brown has to win, and he has to win a lot for this decision to make sense.
Ian, in the postseason, there were a lot of times when either Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns were out where you're looking around and you're like, where is this offense going to come from? It seems like the Knicks address that with Jordan Clarkson, and then they add Yabusele to play in the front court. How do you see those two guys fitting in for this Knicks team next season?
Yeah, with the scoring off the bench, that was really, really lacking this past season. I think they were last in the league on a point per game basis. So you needed to address that. And in Clarkson, you get a professional scorer. Yabusele, a guy who played really well in Philly, scored the ball in Philly, could play a couple different positions. And so I think you addressed that on paper. You did pretty well, because I thought Yabusele was going to, get a deal above that taxpayer mid-level that the Knicks ended up getting him for. And Denver was right in there at the end on Yabusele. My understanding is Nikola Jokic even really wanted Denver to land Yabusele. He chooses New York, so that seemed like a win on paper, bolstering that bench. And then I think they should have enough money here to get one more veteran in. I assume it's going to be, a lead guard to back up Brunson, but let's see how this thing unfolds. A little bit more work to be done, but I do think those first two moves to me made sense.
What makes someone a professional scorer exactly? Because Jordan Clarkson professionally has never shot better than 46%.
You have to guard him, right? You have to guard him. Okay. He can create off the dribble. And so, everybody in the media business is a professional, quote unquote. Some of us are the equivalent.
Don't get me wrong. I know exactly what you meant. But as soon as you said it, I was like, can anybody that shoots the bunch be a professional scorer? So speaking of professional scorers, why the hell not on Kevin Durant? Because I think if you replace Mikal Bridges and or Josh Hart and plug in Kevin Durant, and you're talking about Mike Brown with an offensive mind who, might have known a little thing or two about Kevin Durant, then I think it would have been a good fit. Why not?
Yeah, he's certainly plug and play, right? I think I was, told don't worry about that, even dating back to the end of the regular season. Never got a clear answer on why. One thing that I could gather was just the hesitancy to committing that extension. I don't know what the money would have been, $150 or whatever it was, 3-year extension. Durant, I think, being late 30s at the end of that deal. And look, he's going to be able to score the ball until they take his driver's license away. But you have to worry about committing that amount of money that late in his career. I think that was part of it. But yeah, there was never, I know there were some reports about Knicks kicking the tires. My understanding is they never made an earnest attempt here to trade for Durant. Is that going to look like a mistake? The Rockets take off, the Knicks sputter. Yeah, we're gonna look back on that and second guess it. But I do think committing that money to him, that extension, factored in to the Knicks thing.
Do they actually take your driver's license away as you get older? Because this is concerning to me.
I mean, Stugotz, I think they probably should have taken his away 5 years ago. So
depends on what he's doing in the car. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, when you put out a report that you kind of have an idea of what the fan base's reaction is going to be to it, and I feel like you had one of those yesterday when you reported that the Knicks have checked in with Ben Simmons, and what's been the reaction from the fan base on that, and how real is that connection that that Ben Simmons might come over to New York?
I don't know if you heard, but he's been shooting threes this offseason.
Oh no.
Have we seen have the videos come out yet? Because that's a staple of the offseason. But I would say this, Taylor, first off, I don't intend to play with anybody's emotions. Certainly never an intent. It is real. They have been in touch, which is what I reported. He's been in touch with a few teams, and I think with the Knicks, part of the thinking is they have this last spot here, veterans minimum. I think you're going to look for a ball handler, and some of them are off the table. Dante Exum, according to ESPN, had signed with Dallas, I think late last night. And so, what are your options? And Ben Simmons is one of those options. I don't know if they end up landing there. That I don't know, but they have had contact. They have checked in, and so to me, that's where it sits at the moment. And let's see what they do with that last spot.
Ian, there's been reports or just discussion. Sorry, Mikey. There's been reports that there's no trade market, or maybe just discussion. There's no trade market for LeBron James. If that would have been a 1-year situation, LeBron James to New York, would that have been something that interested them?
I would say I do know that they, like every other team, I'm sure that some people over there checked in and just wanted to see what was going on after that Rich Paul issued that statement. But so I just think generally, everybody would love to trade for LeBron James, but if you're a contending team like the Knicks are, and you have to put together $50 million in salary to send out, how can you do that and then still have enough on the after the deal to feel like you can compete? Yeah, the Knicks could send Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know if that works dollar for dollar, but then how does that impact your offense? It seems like that's the tough proposition, I think, for any contending team that wants to bring LeBron on. So, look, I know you guys would probably agree with me. I don't think he's going to be in LA opening night this season, and it's just a matter of how. But I just wonder if this, because of the difficulty in trading for him, does this end up in a buyout situation, as crazy as that sounds, where LeBron gets to choose his destination a little bit more freely, as opposed to a team having to put together all these assets to get him.
All right. Enough of the easy questions. We got to get to some of the hard stuff now. Stugotz isn't here to play Ian or Ian out, so I will take over. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you agree with it, it's Ian.
Oh, nice.
If you don't agree, it's E out. All right. We'll start with.
Let me know if you need to hear those rules again, Ian.
Yeah, I think I got it. I like it.
Complicated.
All right. We'll start with one of the harder questions. Being in the pool, Ian or E out?
Oh, Ian. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes a rash guard, but certainly in the pool.
All right, peeing in the
wait,
shower.
I'm sorry. Time out. I didn't hear you. You said peeing in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think he said?
Peeing in the pool. Oh, geez.
Peeing in the pool.
Yeah, can I get a redo on
You
that?
answered that so defiantly that I was like, wow, he just
I was going to say, what a confident pool peer, because like you're not even concerned that it might have that special dye in it. Like once those things made the market, I'm like, never again. Never again.
I told you these were hard questions.
Yeah, no, I would say this. I can't say that it hasn't happened in the last 10 years, and only because young kids trying to teach them how to swim, you got your eye on them. Sometimes you just can't get out of the pool. It's a safety thing. So not often.
So Ian pee in the pool.
Ian,
Got
yes. Peeing in the shower.
It's a lot of urine-based questions today, Ian.
Yeah.
Well, we always start with the first two. After this, it gets away from urine.
As a married man, E out.
E out.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying or what you're being like truthful about?
No, that's the truth. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got to get it done right before the shower.
Reclining on an airplane. E in or E out?
E out. I could fall asleep standing up, honestly, so I don't need to recline if I'm trying to sleep on the plane. And E out. I don't think anybody should have an issue with it, but I just don't do it.
Thank you. I really don't think you should have an issue with. Like, I've been sitting in a seat a million times, and somebody reclines. It's like, okay, that is your right, 100%. You are not making my flight like 0.5%. You are making my flight 0.5% less comfortable, but it's not that bad. Like, come on. The people that complain about that drive me nuts.
Blame the airline. Don't blame the person reclining the seat.
Boarding when it's not your group. E in or E out?
E in, 20 years ago, 15
Rule
years.
breaker.
E out now. More responsible.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not really trying to get there very fast, right? At this point, it's just like, I don't care if I'm the last one in, last one out, especially if I'm traveling for work. It doesn't matter.
Yes, doesn't matter.
Ketchup on a hot dog.
Ian. Oh, yeah, Ian.
Oh, wow.
I was just in Chicago. Taylor, back me up on this. They hate ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago.
They'll shame you for the rest of your life.
Don't give it to you, right? It's just mustard.
It's what I hate the most about Chicago. I mean, get over yourselves. Like, it tastes like terrible without ketchup on it.
There's a place here in Connecticut that claims that they invented the hamburger, and they will yell at you if you ask for ketchup on your hamburger.
Oh,
they will yell at you.
Listen, it's my burger. I'm going to put what I want on it.
Seriously.
Well, they won't give it to you. Okay. Waiting for someone to pull out of a parking spot when there are plenty other spaces in the lot. E in or E out?
So I'm looking for a spot and instead of taking other spots, I'm waiting for somebody to pull out because it's a more convenient spot.
Yep.
Yes.
Despite
the fact there are several other spots available.
Am I alone in the car? Or my family in the car?
Let's say yes, you are alone in your car.
Yeah, I'm going elsewhere. But if my family's in the car, sometimes I don't get to choose what spot to go in. Sometimes that choice is made for me.
The shorter distance is a lot more important when you got the kids around.
Yes.
Well, sometimes getting out of the car and getting back home is the more important question with the little kids. But all right, last one.
Back in
LeBron
Parker
James
or no? Head in only.
Oh, good question.
Not skilled enough to be a back.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like if you have to turn around, like actually and turn around, look, you got the kids' car seats, you got a bunch of stuff in the trunk. Maybe it's not really a whole lot to see back there. Yeah, I'm with you. Just straight head in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one, then we'll get you out of here. LeBron James as a player coach, E in or E out?
E out. I would like to see it because he can't fire himself, but E out because I don't think he would ever do it.
Okay.
Right,
I think he would be able to fire himself. I think he would be able to fire himself. Thank you, Ian, or E out.
Thank you, fellas. Great to be with you. Hope to see you soon. Happy 4th.
Is what are you getting into this weekend?
I got to go to Orlando. My family's doing their annual stupid house rental over there, taking the kids to the parks. Fortunately, are getting in after they've taken them to the parks. I'm just spending the 4th and the 5th up there.
You seem thrilled about it.
I mean, I get to see the kids, but I don't have to drive 3 hours and do it in somebody else's house. I'd rather just, drive 35 minutes and see them at their house.
Right. Makes sense.
They, like these rental houses. I mean, I'm sure these rental houses in Orlando, they're all the same. They all have these like extravagant game rooms and these movie theater rooms. And then like 50% of the stuff actually works. And it's just,
right.
You just spend time in the pool anyway.
Are you talking about like an Airbnb or like?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you need to have a good host, a premier host who leaves good instructions on how to use all the shit in the house,
Right. I don't think they've had a good host in any time. I always tell them, like, go somewhere else. Honestly, like, you don't have to go to Disney all the time. Like, the kids just love the house and the pool and all that stuff. Just go down to the Keys even. Like, it's just so much better. But
would you would you put your house on Airbnb?
I actually was I need to, sort of get through with it, but I'm going to buy probably a short-term rental property, a property that I plan on short-term renting this year.
I'm not certain how I feel about people staying in my house and then I come home and use it again. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, I probably won't come home and use it again. It'll probably just be for that.
Right. Mikey, hey, how do you feel about this? I don't want people staying in my house. I don't want them using my car and then I have to come back and use it. Like, get out of here.
Well, they don't use your car, but
no, there's a service that does that now. There is a service. Yes.
There is, but that's a different service. But yeah, no, I don't want anybody staying in my house. I do like the idea of having, like, I've always wanted to buy a lake house and then for the most part renting it out, but 1 or 2 weeks a year staying there myself.
Right. How do you guys think how do you guys think a fancy young lad, our Knick correspondent, Chris Wittyngham, how do you think he would feel about having a home and renting it out to people for the weekend or a week and then coming home and sleeping in
he lives in New York, so there's no guarantee he doesn't have to rent out his closet because it's so damn expensive to live over there. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, good. I live in Connecticut, and honestly, it might be worse than what you just described about New York. Yeah. Jesus, it is horrendous. Worse. Right. I've always been curious. And Mikey, I just said the word wanted in a very Northeastern accent. It is the only word that I hear.
We lost the
accent talk with Chris
I don't hear any other words.
It'd be great.
Let's pick back up.
I was going to ask him to give us the pulse of New York, not realizing he lives in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Did I
get kicked off for trying to criticize the Northeastern accent? Anyway. My point was wanted. I feel like the most Americans don't really over pronounce the letter T. I wanted to say, and like for whatever reason, that word makes me specifically think of the Northeastern accent.
6 and 2 threes, really.
What? I mean, it's what's the drink you drink in the morning to wake up?
Coffee.
That's the one. That's the one. Whenever you want to see if somebody has a New York accent, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's our New York correspondent who lives on the fringes of New York. He's out in Connecticut.
I mean, everyone in Connecticut thinks that they're New Yorkers. I mean, realistically, it is a state of New Yorkers that just wanted a plot of land. That really is what Connecticut is, at least the southwestern part of the state.
Northern Jersey and Southern Connecticut. That's exactly what it is. Yes.
100%. Everyone here is a Knicks fan, a Rangers fan, a Yankee. You see no Connecticut anything anywhere. It's just New York things.
Right.
I
That's
imagine
why it's really weird towards the middle of the state when people start wanting to be Boston. And then you've got these people living together, and you've got half these people that want to be New Yorkers and half these people that want to be Bostonians. And they are just, and he's gone. And they're just weird.
You're talking about Hartford, right? I mean, that's essentially.
I'm talking about the entire middle of this.
Right. Yeah.
I
Connecticut's
live in
a weird
state,
state,
and I
man.
absolutely hate it. Yes.
Yeah.
I met my wife here. I love her to death. She's a weirdo. All of the people from Connecticut are weirdos.
Also, terrible Wi-Fi.
Yes. Apparently. Well, my Wi-Fi is doing just fine. So that might be.
I mean, mine is fantastic. I don't know what's going on with Wittyngham. Jesus.
I have no idea. I'm
you know who I
in.
usually call about this stuff? Wittyngham.
I used to. He's got it, man. This is great. I love it. I love it.
This is awesome.
Yes. Just keep it this way.
Now here's what we do. Now we ask him a question so that he wants to respond about the soccer, and then you just cut him off, and you'd be like, "Oh, you lost. There you go."
Izzy, so you would be like, if you did put your house on Airbnb, you would give all the the proper. I'm fascinated by this discussion. Yeah. You would leave all the codes. You would leave everything. It'd be like turnkey, right? So when the people walk in, they know what the fuck they're doing, right?
100%. Like I just stayed at an Airbnb in Chicago. Lovely host, great little house. Not a whole lot of things, supplies, right? I don't want you to, I don't want to have to go to the store for salt and pepper. Like, just go, you come into my house, don't bring in all kinds of crazy stuff. Use what I've got. Yes. And then just leave it all clean. Obviously, I have a cleaning service after. Get the hell out. It doesn't have to be that complicated. I don't mind people staying in my place. See you later.
What's the code? Where's the salt and pepper? Whittingham just dumped out again on the Zoom. Where's the ganja? Where's a bowl? Just come on, make it easy. I'm paying you a lot of money for your house. I get all the extras.
This is the type of host I would be like. This specific. How many times, Stu, have you seen the host just like no smoking inside or outside the house? Well, first of all, be specific, all right? Because we know cigarette smoke's going to linger and get into the furniture, but marijuana smoke, not so much. Okay. Right. Also, it's okay to smoke outside. Let's be honest, especially in a state where it's recreational, where you don't have to worry about that. And this host is just like, hey, if you're going to smoke, go outside. Perfect. Not afraid to smoke outside.
Get rid of the butts.
Yes. And the other thing is, it's like there was once some owner, this was like years ago, tried to charge me for smoking inside the house. I said, what'd you find inside the house? They said, a little bit of marijuana. I was like, was it ashes or was it marijuana? It was like, no, it was marijuana. I was like, okay, that's not proof I smoked inside the house. That's proof I had marijuana inside the house. But unless you see the ashes, I didn't smoke shit. Get that charge off of there. And he was like, you got me. Okay. No charge for you.
He should be thanking you. You left him some weed. I mean, Jesus.
It's probably a little tiny bud. Yeah.
Very nice.
You should have sent him a bill for the weed.
Exactly. Yeah. Send that back, wrap it up in a little paper towel, ship it to my address. Damn it.
All they find is weed in my house. Hey, every code leads to weed. Anyway, the fancy young lad is back.
Let's hope.
Well, for now.
You're so upset right now, aren't you? Because you hate it.
Fuming.
You would be screaming at me right now.
Right, exactly. I am that which I hate at the moment. Yeah. I am the person that is ruining everything with technical problems.
Well, you're really making the segment. I have to be honest with you. It's because we're making fun of you, and it's funny for this to be happening to you of all people.
I have one point, by the way, on Airbnbs. Is there a point at which it gets almost too comfortable with the host? Because I stayed once. We did a thing where we went up to New Hampshire for leaf peeping. Are you familiar with this? No. So in New Hampshire and Vermont.
Oh yes.
He left. He just dropped off again.
I will pick it up from there because there was a point where it got a little too familiar with this.
He saw a leaf.
Leaf peeping. That sounds dirty.
Leaf peeping.
This host in particular, I was chatting with her. And then she follows up at some point. She goes, would you happen to be an ESPN reporter? Because if you are, my husband has been watching you for years. And I was just like, of course, I'm not going to lie about it. So I was like, oh, yeah, I have been. And she was just like, oh, my God, that's so cool. But now I'm nervous. Like, I don't know if they're going to be the type of people that would be cool about it. That's not Chris Wittyngham. I don't think people that would be cool about it.
Someone with an internet connection.
Yeah, but doesn't understand lighting because he's just backlit like a son of a bitch. Hello, Frank.
What's up?
The great Frank Isola is with us. The lighting is, I know, I don't want to say where you are, but I mean.
You could say it.
Well, he's in the Hamptons, guys.
Okay. Does the Hamptons not have curtains that you can close?
I have a rich friend, so he invited me out here. Yeah.
Does he work for the New York Times?
Exactly. Well, the Athletic by day, New York Times by night.
The great Frank Isola is with us. He's in the Hamptons.
In theory, I can't confirm it's Frank. It sounds like Frank. It looks like the ghost of Frank or Frank dying.
Let me figure something out here. I'll figure something out. Wait right here. Nobody move.
All right,
we're waiting on Chris Wittyngham anyway.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll see. Right. Well, because Wittyngham is upset with me about a soccer take that I gave. Frank Isola loves soccer, so I wanted Wittyngham to rebut to the soccer take that I gave and have Frank Isola be the arbiter. But Wittyngham keeps dropping in and out of the Zoom, and Frank Isola can't find a curtain. And so here we are, just talking about Airbnbs. I mean, Wittyngam's kind of dead.
This is the 4th of July special.
There's a 60-second timer.
Fireworks.
Wi-Fi. You can only use it a minute at a time. What is going on over there? Connecticut.
Remind me, Taylor, I have a top 5 list of people in sports who connote the 4th of July. Okay. Frank with a curtain. Yes.
Wow.
You look great. Friend's house in the Hamptons, huh?
Hey, nice shirt.
Kind of looks like a hotel. It's very handy.
Does it work?
Yeah, it works with us. Can you hear us?
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. When's Chris coming on? I want to ask him something. He's good.
Well,
It's been a challenge today.
he's been on 7 times so far.
You can ask him, but he won't be able to give you a response.
Okay. Look at Izzy. Izzy, what's up?
Just living the life down here in South Florida. It's always the Hamptons. Frank, before he comes back and we get to talk about soccer, what the hell's going on with the Knicks? Mike Brown, number 1, right?
Yeah, well, they wanted, I think the Jason Kidd was number 1.
Of course.
Then maybe Ime Udoka was number 2. Maybe Chris Finch was number 3. Billy Donovan was number 4. Quinn Snyder was number 5 because they did reach out to those guys. That was their thing to mess up everyone else's situation in the NBA and ask for their coach.
Yes. But Mike Brown's nickname should be 10th option. How do you feel about that?
He does have a 600 winning percentage, and he's 50 and 40.
Though, I mean,
in the playoffs.
Right. But he coached LeBron. I mean,
yeah. There's Chris right there, Mr. Soccer himself.
Yeah, for now. Hurry,
he won't
Chris.
Be here long, I promise you.
Jesus.
He's so mad. Frank, there's no way. You and I discussed this. Jason Kidd was the plan. You don't fire Tom Thibodeau unless you have a plan to upgrade your head coaching. And I'm not even certain Jason Kidd is an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau, but at least it's a plan. What's frustrating as a Knicks fan is there's no way this was the fucking plan.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But, I have to believe that they had contacted Jason Kidd. I get that it's not legal to do that, but I would think they must have contacted him before this. Why they couldn't figure something out. And maybe they wanted Jason Kidd to put up a bigger stink. Or maybe they contacted Jason Kidd before Dallas won the number 1 overall pick. And it's a better situation. I think ultimately Jason Kidd was just going to go wherever he was going to get the most money. And I think he'll end up getting an extension from the Dallas Mavericks.
Are the Knicks better today?
I don't know. I mean, their bench is probably a little bit better. There's more pressure. Hey, Tom Thibodeau won 10 playoff games. Hadn't done that since 99, and he got fired. So if you're Mike Brown, and you guys know how it works too, the fans were unrealistic. I mean, they finally made it to a conference finals as Chris bailed out. They finally make it to a conference finals, and they get rid of the guy. Yeah. I guess Chris had it with me. He wanted us to talk U.S. men's soccer.
No, he's had it with me, and we've had it with him, to be quite honest with you. How do you feel about Airbnbs? Like, would you rent your house out? Would you list your house as an Airbnb?
So I guess during the World Cup, I don't live too far from MetLife, which is a complete dump, but they're going to have the finals there, and there's going to be a lot of games there. So there's been a lot of talk of doing it. I would actually consider it. I would even say, listen, my wife will stay there. She'll like take care of the house. I'll just go away.
A Nick Saban situation.
Why are you putting your wife to work, man?
Well, you know, she'll probably enjoy it. Maybe we'll get like, I don't know, like some Brazilian family to come over. They'll all hang out together, you know.
Yeah, but we won't all hang out together because you're leaving.
I'll be making money. I'll come down to Florida, do the show with you guys.
I don't think like Izzy, I don't know about you, but I don't think people when you rent an Airbnb, you don't want any of the owners at the house. That would be
that's the worst situation. That's like Nick Saban and all those commercials, right? That's what he's
like
doing
Frank,
now?
listen, when I smoke weed in your house, I don't want you to be there. You know?
Well, the other thing too is most people, all you rich people, when you have an Airbnb that you rent out, you don't have anything in there. I have all my stuff here, so they're going to go through everything, like what's in my medicine cabinet, what's in my attic.
Yeah,
so
you got to lock one storage closet and not give them the code for that. Put all that stuff in there. But
Exactly.
you leave some of the personal stuff out there because that way, like if they're trashing your house, they can see you. They're like, wait a second, I don't want to do that to that dude. He looks okay.
So yeah, we went to Penn State for my niece's graduation. My brother got an Airbnb, and all they had was pictures of their family. They had pictures of Joe Paterno everywhere, so we knew where they stood on that issue. And there were family pictures everywhere.
Still up, huh?
It's like a little creepy, you know.
Oh, look at the kids. What a great age.
But if you go to a house and there's like a giant, like in the bedroom, it's a giant picture of Frank Isola on Around the Horn. Is in your bedroom, right, Frank?
First thing, I hate that asshole.
A painting of it.
I hate that jerk. No wonder the show got canceled.
Oh my God. So a big weekend, 4th of July weekend in the Hamptons with a friend of yours.
Yeah, we'll see what famous people we run into. I have seen Alec Baldwin and his wife out here before. I've seen Ed Burns out here, which is pretty big.
Yep.
You know, Saving Private Ryan.
Yep.
A couple other people.
It's a who's who, especially this week.
It's a virtual who's who. I just named the three. Those are the only three people I've seen, but it'll be fun.
Izzy, how do you feel about as a journalist, as a proud journalist, how do you feel about a friend of Frank Isola's who works for The Athletic, yet at cocktail parties or when he's meeting someone important, introduces himself as someone who works at the New York Times?
Wow, what a move.
Right?
Like, nobody knows what The Athletic is, but it's owned by the New York Times. So you got to. So if I was talking to, say, somebody who knew nothing about sports in my time at ESPN, I would say I worked for Disney. Right?
He's goofy.
I was going to say an executive at Disney, but okay, I can be goofy. That's a pretty good move. Who is this person?
You know, we always bust on Joey Bag of Donuts, Joe Varden, who does a really good job.
Right.
You know, when he's trying to get a hold of LeBron, it's Athletic. When he wants to get a hold of Adam Silver, it's the New York Times. Izzy, didn't you get offered a job at the New York Times?
Twice.
Cover baseball?
Twice. Turned him down
just
both
once
times.
for me.
Yeah. It was just bad timing. The first time, it's actually funny. You're going to love this, dude. I applied and we're talking about the whole process. And one of the things that are huge in the New York Times is like, hey, you'll start at this position, but you could end up being our correspondent to Egypt or some shit like that. Right?
Yeah.
They're just like, they're telling you, it's all this potential. So I get it and I'm just like, all right, I'm either going to be the New Jersey Nets, hey, Chris, the New Jersey Nets beat writer, or I'm going to be like, I don't know if it was like an NBA person or whatever. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm about to make the move. Let's go for this second interview. And on the back end of the interview, they're like, all right, we're ready. Offer you the job. You're going to cover the Mets. And I said, wait a second. Can we do this like they do on airplanes? Like, can you say the word like N as in Nancy or M as in mother? No. The Mets as in mother. I was like, motherfucker, I don't want to cover the Mets. I was like, oh, you can cover the Mets. But then like 2 years from now, you could be our NBA columnist. I'm like, look, call me 2 years from now. I do not want to cover the Mets. And then I left. And it was just like, wow, it's really, they were that close, the alphabet, the M and the N. If it was one letter over, I'd be at the New York Times.
So the Mets were a stepping stone to something bigger at the New York Times. Huh?
Yeah, no, and I
The Nets,
especially there.
That's right.
Covering baseball where it actually still matters in a city like New York. No thanks.
So this dude's turning down jobs at the New York Times, and I'm taking like freelance gigs at the Penny Saver on Long Island. That's what I'm doing. Once again, whenever I start talking, Chris leaves. To me,
Right.
Bye, Chris.
Do me a favor, Taylor. Don't even have him come back. Just leave the poor kid alone.
the guy hates
I don't
me.
care about his soccer take. The game's fucking boring. Okay.
You know how much it bothers him that he can't get on this Zoom right now? You know how much it bothers him?
Tell Chris I'll be watching Italy at noon, the women's Euro. I'll be all over that.
Right.
I got a text from Witty, throwing my computer into the ocean.
Right.
It'll probably work
Terrible
better.
connection. I mean, shitty.
Frank, what do you think about the Club World Cup? You been liking it?
You know what? At first I didn't like it because I didn't like how much the tickets were going to cost, but the games have been really good. The look at Stu, pay attention now. The Man City game was really good against that team from Saudi Arabia that's got crazy money, and they still have really good players on their team. I actually think it's been entertaining. I don't like the fact that it's going to be at MetLife. MetLife is a terrible stadium. It really is. The stadium in Miami looks like, as the Brits like to say, a proper football stadium.
Kinda
It
does
looks
now,
like a
yeah.
soccer stadium, you know?
Yes. We're going to play a game of Isola or Assola.
There we go. I aced the last
That was
test.
the same thing.
You were so good the last time. Frank, which team, and we'll get to that in just a second. Throughout free agency here in the NBA, just getting away from soccer, which team has improved the most here in the offseason?
I would say the Rockets once they get Kevin Durant, even though that was via trade and they got
Yeah, I
Dorian
keep
Finney-Smith.
falling for that trap. Minus the Rockets. Put the Rockets off to the side. They got Durant. After that, who got better?
All right, who got better? Let me see here. I would say I think Denver did. I like what Denver did.
Yep.
And I actually like what Detroit did. I don't understand why some of these guys don't want to go to Detroit. I know what Sophie Cunningham said, that why would you want to go to Detroit? Detroit's got a chance in the Eastern Conference, and Duncan Robinson going there, I think he's going to help. They've made a couple of the moves, and now there's talk about the maybe getting Malik Monk, and Kate Cunningham's big time. So I think the Miami Heat might have a say in the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe it'll be Duncan Robinson with Karis LeVert, his college teamate.
Nobody asked you a damn question about the Miami Heat, Frank. You don't need to dig on the Miami Heat.
Duncan Robinson came from the Miami Heat. Are the phones working in Miami? What are they doing? They must be waiting. They got something up their
I
sleeve.
think Pat's asleep.
Something's going on.
No, what could possibly be up his sleeve at this point?
Kuminga?
There's two things, Frank. No, Kuminga is
doesn't move the
probably
needle. I mean,
no, it doesn't. Like they're probably positioning themselves to maybe if Giannis wants to come down here this year, but really they're just holding off for next year. They're signing all these or drafting all these European players to really appeal to Luka, and they're going to make a run at Luka in free agency if he doesn't sign an extension.
You're right. Luka and Giannis. That's the play.
That's the only thing they really do.
Yeah. And Hero and Bam will still be young enough. Yeah, that's you're right. They could wait one more year.
Where do you think LeBron ends up, Frank?
It's weird, right? There was like some complicated 4-way trade where him and his son and Walker Kessler end up on Cleveland, and Cleveland would be giving up Jared Allen, DeAndre Hunter, and Darius Garland. Not the craziest move. Really isn't, especially in the Eastern Conference. I think he's going to stay on the Lakers, but if he goes anywhere, he should figure out a way to get to Cleveland, because they have a good enough team and they could win the title this year, even though he's not ring chasing.
Right.
But when you, I said this earlier on Stupidity.
Never do that.
But when the Bucks plan starts with signing Miles Turner, like that's going to be the free agent that's going to keep Giannis. And on top of that, you're like, don't worry, we'll deal with the 3 years of dead $20 million in dead cap space. Like, doesn't that sound like a losing hand to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, but I think they're just so desperate to do something. And then how about like Carmelo Anthony's going to be doing NBC next year, and his first reaction to the trade was to on Instagram in all caps. And when you do something in all caps, as you guys know, that means you're really serious.
Oh yeah.
So in all caps, like no loyalty, 3 exclamation points. Carmelo, he's still getting his $113 million. And they're allowing him to go to any team he wants to go to. When Damian Lillard found that out, I'm sure he was sobbing uncontrollably because he was so happy. So I don't think loyalty, and he's still getting the contract. You do understand that, right?
The best was how outraged Giannis was. Like, what were they supposed to do?
Yeah. Because they didn't tell Giannis. Their whole organization is tied up in their future, and they made a huge move like this without notifying him. I guess he was at a diner in Astoria, Queens. He wasn't available. Give me a break.
Frank, before we get to Isola or Asshole, our research department here, I'm a big UNC guy. Our research department here found that you were in attendance for Carolina's first loss
at the Dean Dome. Yep. Yes.
What do you remember most about that game?
Why?
That was the game. So every time I see Kenny Smith on TV, I always think of Chris Gatling throwing the ball off of Kenny Smith's back and then dunking it. That's a great play. But in that game, so Len Bias, as everyone knows, was a great player. He had a sequence which was always part of his highlight. He hit a three. It was either a three or a long jumper. Then he steals the inbounds pass and dunks it backward on the same sequence. So that was pretty cool. Plus, anytime you beat Carolina or Duke, it's a great thing. That's right though. That was their first loss ever in the Dean Dome.
Most first of many. UNC player ever, Frank?
I'm sorry?
Most hated UNC player ever?
Let's see. Who would that be? Oh, Tyler Hansborough.
Psycho too.
Yeah.
Stu, you're saying why? But look how happy Frank was to talk Maryland basketball.
Listen, I know it made him happy.
Drysdale's anymore.
Did you see how unhappy Mikey A was that you asked that question?
Mike, you
went to cut it out.
You went to Carolina? You're a Carolina guy.
No, I did.
No, Taylor.
He went to Carolina.
Best player in Carolina history.
Michael
Jordan.
LeBron.
Yeah. Michael.
Vince.
Michael.
You could also make the argument for Psycho T.
You can't make the argument for Psycho T. You can't.
College.
James Worthy played there.
Yeah. Worthy, underrated in college, even more underrated in the NBA. Out of all these silly big threes, he's probably the most underrated of a big three when you think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can buy that one. I don't think I've ever seen a single James Worthy highlight where he's dribbling.
Yeah, he's catching a pass and dunking.
It's always just
why would you dribble with Magic, Ken? I mean,
all right, I'll give you a good. So when I was in college, there was a great poster of this Converse, and it was Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, and I think Jimmy Black, and they were running up court. And in the background, you could see the Carolina cheerleaders. One of those cheerleaders, James Worthy, ended up marrying. Years later, the Knicks were I'm on the road with the Knicks, and they're practicing at the Forum in LA. And we're in some holding area waiting, and a woman walks in and she's doing some kind of work. And I said, that's James Worthy's wife. Now, by this time, I think they were divorced. So in front of all the writers, she walks by, I say hello. She looks at me and I said, when I was in college, I had a poster of you up on my wall. So all the other guys were like, what the heck did you just say? And she smiled because she knew exactly what I was talking about. I said, that was a great post. Come on, man. Always the divorce one.
Worth it. I mean,
if he was still married to her, I wouldn't have said it. He was divorced. I said so.
All right, let's
you guys know that Frank and I have hosted multiple PTIs together.
Yeah.
And we're
and radio.
Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon.
Bona fides. Listen, it dawned on me about halfway through this that it's 4th of July weekend. Frank's at his friend's house in the Hamptons, and he wants to get the fuck out of here.
And I just did a 3-hour radio show.
Yes.
There it is.
Oh, Jesus, Taylor.
Wow.
Great research department. Give it up for the research department.
I only see 2 cheerleaders, so she's one of the 2?
Yeah.
Listen, Mikey A is a very close friend of mine and a confidant. Mikey A, if you want to fire Taylor after this episode, feel free to do so.
That is phenomenal. What a pull, as the young kids like to say.
Wait a second. Can you name any of the Kentucky players?
Is that Jim LeMaster on the right? And I think that's Melvin Turpin in the middle. And that's Sam Bowie on the left.
Was Turpin, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that the Bowie year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bowie you.
Took Sam.
I was right about Converse. Got that one.
Right.
Tell Chris, thanks a lot for leaving me 3 times.
Great performance.
You want to?
But I do like him on the soccer coverage. He's really good.
No, he's fantastic. Real quick before you get out of here, Isola or Assola, since you're out in the Hamptons, okay? Right. Ordering the wrong white zin with a fish. Isola.
Asshola. Well, not even close. Not even close.
People who claim too much beach space. Isola or Assola?
Asshole.
You know those people.
Oh, they're all out here. You want to hate people? Come out here because it's every obnoxious person from New York City and from New Jersey. They're all coming out here.
I put my towels down at 8 a.m.
Nobody's on your towels, sir.
Yeah, but they got.
And I get 400 feet around them.
Exactly.
Play music on the beach. Isola or Asshole?
I don't do that. Again, personal space. Asshole.
Really?
No.
Not even if you keep it at a decent level?
Well, that's different though. Then it's not really. No, I'm not playing the music. No, okay. I'm listening to the birds.
Are you, Frank? You're getting hammered. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Hammered enough to start talking to the birds.
Socks and sandals.
Come on, dude. I'm probably like 2 years. I'm probably 2 years away from that. Who are we kidding? But for right now, come on.
I thought I might actually get him with that one. I thought I actually might get him with that one.
I saved it for last because Frank is right. There is an age where if you go out to the Hamptons, there is a certain age where everyone above that age is wearing socks and sandals.
I mean, everyone's going to be making fun of me. It's like, it's definitely coming. It's coming.
But you're good, Frank. You got the hat backwards. So
exactly. I look like an idiot right now.
Hey, don't ever say you're not our go-to guy, Frank. Okay. This is twice in a week. All right.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. All right. Have a good 4th. Tell
you too, buddy.
Chris,
have a great weekend. I want to guess whose friend's house you're at.
Well, wait. You'll like this because you're a big Mike and the Mad Dog fan.
What?
Remember when Mike from Montclair would call in and always bust Francesa's chops? It's his house. Yeah, it's his house.
Wow. Yes, because Frank lives in
Mike from Montclair.
Yep.
Wow.
You're in his house?
Yes.
I'd rather be in his house than Francesa's house.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll give you a great Mike one. Let me give you one great Mike call. I think this is one of his better ones. He always used to call up and kill the Knicks and Phil Jackson because he knew Mike was connected to them. So I won't give you one of those. But Mike once had Jim Nance on, and Jim Nance was going down the line of all the presidents that he had played golf with, and they're just talking about, oh, I remember when I played with Barack. I remember George Bush, and he's going on and on. So after Jim Nance is done, the next call that Francesa takes is from Mike in Montclair. Mike from Montclair. Well, Mike never said hello. He just went right into his point. Of course,
yes.
He just, it's a shame that Jim Nance wasn't just a little bit older. And Francesa, whoa, what are you talking about? And he says, well, just think of all the presidents you could have played with if you're just a little bit older. You could have played with even more presidents. And Francesa right away is like, you're a jerk, Mike.
Classic Mike.
Both.
Yeah, he knew how. I know. Exactly. Stu's right. He knew how to bust chops, and Mike didn't want any part of it. Oh, I missed Mike's show. It was fun.
We'll be sure to tell Chris Wittyngham that you said goodbye.
Yes. Well, no, here's what I'm thinking, guys. To close out the summer Labor Day weekend, I'm thinking we go to Mike and from Montclair's house.
He'll invite you.
Me, Izzy, Mikey A, Taylor, and Isola, and we do a show from the house. How about that?
All right. Wow.
Yes. Or we do nothing but stay and call other people's shows from there.
Blast music on the beach. Yes. In our sandals and socks.
Bring your family pictures. This one will make it seem like it's our house and we're renting it out as an Airbnb.
Tell Mike he's a legend, and so are you, Frank. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you.
Frank.
All right, take care.
Welcome into the Big Stuey. I've done one of these. The first one I did, outraged Chris Wittyngham. It was my take on soccer, and my take on soccer is that everyone starts off playing soccer as a kid, but then they realize as they get older and they can think for themselves, hey, if I'm going to be bored and do nothing on an athletic field, I might as well do it on a baseball field. That was it. Izzy, are you ready for the Big Stuey today?
I don't even think I was ready for that one, but yes, I'm ready for the Big Stewie. That recap just really got me.
What I have for you today is top 5 people in sports who connote the 4th of July. How about that?
How have you never done this one before? I feel like it's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I've probably done it. I'm in repeats.
Not on Big Stewie.
No, not on the Big Stewie. You're right. Not on Big Stewie. All right, here we go. OLI. OLI is what I tried to say. World Be Free.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know. Not in the top 5, which is shocking.
Yeah. We're all about freedom.
Yep. Sparky Anderson.
Ooh, it's still OLI?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Spark.
Yeah.
Is he still with us? No, right?
I have no
Long
idea. I don't know. Manager of the Tigers and the Reds. I have no idea. He looked the same age for 50 years.
That's why. Yeah, that's why I'm not shocked if he was
Mark
still
Anderson
with us.
died in 2010.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Too soon?
No, I mean, wow, he looked like 80 years old in 1950. But anyway.
Right. He looked like he was 80 when he was 50. Yes.
Yeah, that's the way to go, I guess.
He was an old... he was a young 80 and an old 50.
Somehow, both a young 80 and an old 50.
Mike Breen. Bang.
Wow, that's a great one.
Thank you.
Is it still OLIs? Because they can't get better than this.
No, I have one more. Yeah. Okay. I have one more. Rocket Ismail.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
The Rocket.
All right. Here we go. Number 5, the trio of Michael Red, Danny White, and Vita Blue.
Okay.
Not bad.
That's not bad. It's great.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Number 4, Marcus Liberty.
Who do you play for again?
Illinois.
So that trio, the red, white, and blue trio. Sorry. The red, white, and blue trio was the Oakland A's?
I'm sorry. What was that?
The red, white, and blue trio, that was the Oakland A's?
Michael Red played for the Bucks, as you know. You cover the NBA. You're a Hall of Famer. Danny White was the backup quarterback.
Yep. 3 across different sports.
My bad.
They were not teammates. They just happened to have red, white, and blue in their name.
Yes.
That's why we fired right past it. Got it.
I was thinking about, I honestly was thinking about going Red Grange, Whitey Ford, and Blue Edwards, but Whitey threw me off.
Yeah. Actually, I think it would have been perfect for these times. Red, whitey, and blue.
Okay, I stand corrected. Number 3, Cooper Flagg.
Wow. Right out the box, he's in there. And, from Maine, playing in Dallas, definitely screams USA, baby.
Yep. Number 2, Dick Pole. For obvious reasons.
I get it now. A lot of people getting dick on the 4th of July.
That's exactly the reason.
Is that not a sexual holiday for everybody else? Okay, my bad.
Bang.
Freedom just really does it for me. Sometimes a triple bang, you never know.
Yeah. And number 1, Lonnie Walker the 4th. Big Stewie.